This is Walt Disney World Today. Give us 5 minutes and we'll give you the world.
It's Friday, August 25th, 2006, and this is episode number 144 of Walt Disney World Today. I'm Matt Hochberg from mgmstudios.org. Going around our table, we have Mike Newell of Mouse World Radio. Welcome, Mr. Newell.
I hate when you pick me first. I'm never prepared.
I like you the most.
Such a surprise, signing into
He always
Skype and
catches
sitting
me by
down and-
surprise.
Sorry, I'll leave you to the end, as usual.
Like I start the recording, I go to get something to drink, and he goes, "And Mike, oh wait." Usually, scope his spiel and all that. I have plenty of time to go do something.
I mean, you got 20 minutes.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
I'm with you.
But hi, Matt. How are you?
Outstanding. And we've got a man advocating Donald Duck should be able to wear some pants. Len Testa, the unofficial guide of the Walt Disney World. Welcome, Len.
I mean, there's a time and a place to have a cool breeze, but that's not one of them. Anyway, go ahead.
All I'll say is page 2 of the unofficial guide. Page 2. And back with us once more is the ever-luminous Deb Wills of allears.net. Welcome, Deb.
Greetings. This is going to be the 100 Bottles of Wine on the Wall podcast, right?
Woo!
Hey.
Len, what are we down to?
99.
Better keep that moving. And appropriately enough, today we're talking about the Food and Wine Festival, which runs from September 29th through November 12th, 2006. And if you're interested in a list of events that is occurring, there's a huge amount of events that are going on throughout the event. We've got a link in the show notes to all of the events. So rather than have you be bored listening to us reading these things that you can find on Deb's website, we're just going to be talking about the event and kind of giving you our opinions on things and the do's and don'ts of the event. The main part of the entire event is really the marketplace booths, right, Len?
I would think so. Yeah, the individual places where you can get small treats from every country around World Showcase and some new countries too. It's the international marketplace.
Yep, and each booth has about maybe 3 or 4 food offerings that you can get, and they range from like $1.50 to like $5.
$4.50 is what Disney's saying.
$4.50. Okay.
Yeah.
Does that include tax?
That's all inclusive.
Is it?
I think so.
All right. And
Still less than $5 with tax, even if it's $4.50.
And you can use your Disney Dining Plan snack option. At least you could
Yes.
last year, and
Yes.
rumor is you will again this year.
This year,
yep,
yeah.
you can use your snack credit for that.
That's fantastic.
And if you can use it for all of them, then technically, Len, if you pick something that's $4.50, you're getting an extra 50 cents value out of it. Am I right?
Only you, Matt. Only you.
Oh yeah, cracking the Disney Dining Plan one step at a time.
Awesome.
Put that in the book.
Yeah, I think I will.
And of course, there's always at least one item that's a dessert or sweet. We call that the Len Testa law.
That's right. If it's when you start eating all the desserts first you get that little warm buzz in the back base part of your head, right up below where your brain meets your neck. You get a nice little warm sensation right there. That's living.
What are some from past years? Last year, well, before you go into that, last year on our first episode, Len trying to be very high and mighty and
Not
sound
high
very
and mighty. I was just pointing out a particular thing I enjoyed. Oh, it got me in trouble.
I know. Well, Len said that at the Norwegian pavilion, Scandinavian. Thank you. They have a particular food called Gravlax, and he went on from, well, considering the show is about 5 minutes long, I mean, he went on for the whole show about it.
40% of the show.
Yeah, about talking about this, and he told all of our listeners to go try it out.
Both of our listeners at the
right.
time. Yes.
All of Scopus family, and our listeners got down there and emailed us back and said, "Len, it's not
hey,
there."
No Gravlax, Swedish meatballs instead.
So, Len, is the Gravlax coming back this year?
I don't. Your guess is as good as mine. I don't know. I hope so. Just so I can go back and taste it.
What about what are some other things out there, Deb? What were some foods that you enjoyed last year?
Well, speaking of dessert, Ireland has had a flourless chocolate cake with Irish whiskey sauce that's always been rather tasty, and I've enjoyed that. You can get shrimp on the Barbie from Australia, which is usually pretty decent. Over in the United States, there is typically a lobster dish or a crab cake. Japan will have spicy tuna rolls, which are usually very good. One thing to note, though, I want to mention about the food booths is you can go one day and the food is outstanding. The next day you might find it dry. And it really depends on your timing because some of this food is going to be sitting there for a while. So if there's something that you really didn't think was prepared right, you might want to try it again if it's of interest to you because you may have just gotten it at an off time.
That's right. Len, any other? Do you just go for Gravlax? If there's no Gravlax, it's all over for you?
No. Usually I go through all of the booths. Like remember, if it wasn't last year, it was the year before. It was in 2004. It was the International Festival of Spicy Chicken, where every booth seemed to have some sort of variation on spicy chicken. There's invariably there's some sort of international take on the grilled cheese sandwich, so cheese quesadilla or whatever they do in China, something like that is good. But you really can't go wrong. I don't know what they're going to do this year, but I'm sure it'll be tasty.
Deb, I have a question. I think a lot of people that go there are very picky when it comes to eating.
Yes.
And the foods here are certainly they're very different from what you might find at Denny's, to put it gently.
Yeah, okay.
How did you find the palette of food around? Is it something that really adventurous people can do, or would you say that even the picky eater in everyone's family could probably find something at every booth?
I'm not sure if you could find something at every single booth, but I think that you would find plenty that you would not go hungry. One of the nice things that they started, I think it was last year, is that they actually have a real item out on display under glass so you can see what the food looks like. And a lot of times that helps in determining whether you want to eat it or not. The other thing is, especially for folks with allergies or special dietary concerns, they do have the ingredients list for all the foods behind the counter. You just have to ask for them. So while I may skip the Scandinavian booth with the Gravlax and the mackerel,
Oh, come on.
I'll jump right over to the Mexico booth and have a tortilla and a quesadilla, maybe some chicken cha-cha over in China. So there's plenty to do, and you can certainly make a meal out of it. It's most fun if you go with a group and you're willing to share food, because then you don't have to buy one of everything, and you can, if there's 4 or 5 of you and you're willing to share off the same plate, you can just have a taste feast from one end to the other.
Len, what would you say are some good tips for visiting Food and Wine in terms of touring it effectively and not being stuck behind a huge line of people trying to get, $2
$2
wingers.
Gravlax.
Yeah, right.
Normally I would say take a walk around World Showcase and sort of scope everything out first, but that's like a 1.25 mile walk, and I don't know that anyone would want to do that. So I would just say follow the normal World Showcase tour. It's going to be a little bit more crowded in World Showcase because they're going to have those food booths out in the pathway, but really, just if you see something, stop and get it. I mean, because to Deb's point, you come back the next day, the chances are that item might not be there, or they might have something different on the menu. And I would definitely try. I'd say try anything. I mean, most of the stuff is toned down for the American palate anyway.
Good point.
So
It is.
So have I told you guys the term that I saw for that? One of the Charlotte newspapers coined the term ethnic, like ethnic, but with the word EP in front of it. And it's food, ethnic food that's been toned down for the American taste. Ethnic, like the kind of stuff you would find in Epcot. I love it. That's where they got it. Yeah, I thought it was great. So ethnic.
Another good touring tip would be to try and avoid the weekend evenings, if at all possible. It gets very, very crowded on Saturdays and Sundays. Your best bet, if you're in Disney World Monday through Friday, is to go during the week, during the day. Make it a late lunch if you want. But try and avoid Friday and Saturday nights because it gets packed. Between all the locals coming in, the concerts start about 5 o'clock. Those are the Eat to the Beat concerts where they have a whole series of bands that play throughout the festival. It just gets very, very hectic during the evening. So.
And I would also, going right with what Deb said, that World Showcase opens at 11, and it's probably best to get in there at 11 because people start
for lunch.
Right, and I mean people start finishing. People are still in Future World trying to ride Soarin' and stuff, and Len, do you find that as the afternoon starts to get on, 1, 2 o'clock, people start to finish with Future World and find their way over to World Showcase?
Yeah, I think between 11 and 2, World Showcase was relatively uncrowded. Deb, do you know if they start selling food right at 11, or do they kind of wait until 1?
Usually by 11:30, depends on the food booth, but by around 11:30 you can start getting food.
Yeah.
And
so,
Deb,
I was going to say 26. I'm just going through the Disney stuff here. 26 booths this year. Peru and Turkey are new. Because you can't get enough Peruvian food where I come from. But Turkey has Turkish coffee, which should be great. Have you ever had
That
Turkish
would be
coffee?
great.
oh yes.
Woo! You start your day off with that. That's what I would say. You see, the only problem is you drink the Turkish coffee, a week later you're drowsy again. I don't know how effective it's going to be. All right.
And Deb had mentioned the Eat to the Beat concert series. Mike Newell, is there any band out there that our listeners should definitely go see?
Well, my favorite Loverboy is playing again.
Glenn was front row center with his mullet.
That's
waving
right.
His arm.
That's right.
I've never actually seen Loverboy, but I think my sister Linda has seen them 3 or 4 times.
Actually, the Beach Boys are playing there from October 15th and the 16th. That would be a good show. I'd like to see that.
But is it Brian Wilson?
Yeah, does it say Brian Wilson there?
It doesn't say. It just says the Beach Boys. It doesn't say it's featuring anybody.
And it's probably the Beach Boys.
Yeah.
I think DJ MP3 would be better than the Beach Boys.
Yeah,
but I'm
maybe
sorry.
you're right.
JMP3. Hey, did you guys see the history of the Beer in America thing, by the way? Did we talk about that?
No, why don't you mention that one?
There's a history of Beer in America thing.
Hey, that's great, Len.
Well, that's it for this show.
I knew it was
All
reasonable.
right, go back to the middle with the who are the survivors playing, right? In the
Yeah,
concert series.
I'd go see that too. I liked it. They had a couple good tunes out in the 80s.
So apparently, a requirement for this year's Eat to the Beat series is you had to wear leather pants and a headband during the 80s. That's the common theme I'm seeing here.
I'm just surprised that Chubby Checker is still alive.
Yeah.
And Little Richard.
Yeah, that's right.
Well, he was in the Geico commercial, so I've seen evidence of his life, but I haven't heard anything from Chubby Checker since, well...
Has he
never,
called
but-
lately?
Yeah, he doesn't really... I don't really talk much to Chubby, but,
Also want to let your listeners know that you don't have to be a beer or a wine aficionado to be able to enjoy some of the free beverages at the Food and Wine Festival. A couple of years ago in the United Kingdom, they started tea tastings.
Yes, still doing it this
And-
year. It's
yes.
Twinings, right?
Yes.
Twinings is doing it, yeah.
You need to sign up in advance the day of. So if that's at all of interest to you, you head over to the United Kingdom as soon as World Showcase opens and see about getting a ticket for later in the day.
Have you tried that, Deb?
I have not done it, but Debbie Coma did. She said it was a delightful hour, I guess, 45 minutes to an hour. 3 different teas, just a very informative. She was very pleasantly surprised.
We had people do it last year, and they raved about it too. They said it was one of the hits of Food and Wine.
Absolutely.
Now, Len...
Yeah, go ahead.
Oh, go
there's
ahead.
There's one other thing. I don't know, Deb, have you tried this? The cheese and wine pairing workshop.
That's new this year, and I will be
Yeah.
trying one.
So I'll read the Disney blurb. It's a great opportunity to learn about regional cheeses and wines from industry experts. Explore the myths and realities that are often associated with traditional pairings. Now here's my question: when was the last time anyone heard a really good cheese myth? I don't recall in my college took me 7 years, my undergrad degree. I don't recall ever hearing a decent cheese myth. Is that something in who's the Edith woman who does the mythology book? Edith, whatever. Anyway.
I'm not familiar with any
I was
cheese
going to call her
myths.
Edith Piaf, but that's...
No,
Yeah, I
Edith
was
Piaf.
thinking
No,
of
she was
that
the
too.
French lady singer who sounded like she was
Oh,
being
this bothers me.
chased by electric hedge trimmers all the time.
But of course, I'm looking at Deb's website about the food and wine pairings because obviously Deb's website is the cheat sheet for us when we do this podcast. And like half of them are sold out. There are days you have to sign up for. It's $40 a person. And
Well, what
Oh, he's with
happened? Yeah, this year a lot of the prices went up, and a lot of folks were very disappointed because things like Party for the Senses, which last year was $100 and was a great bargain, or a great value rather, not a bargain, went up to $125 this year. The food and wine pairings are really the least expensive item on the menu, and they're really a sleeper because you get taste of 3 different foods, an appetizer, a small entree, and a dessert, and 3 wines. You get both the chef and the winemaker at the event. And it's the one for pay event that we've always recommended as a great value for your money. So they have increased the price by $5 this year, but it has certainly been selling out all over the board.
Well, the Odyssey cooking schools seem interesting. If
Oh,
only
yeah.
just to get into the Odyssey, I think that'd be worth it.
You really see what they're still doing with it.
But they have. I mean, you're taught to actually cook in there. Have any of you done that?
Was it like? Is that the $75 thing?
It was 150. This
Okay.
year.
Oh, sorry. Yeah. Sorry. No, I haven't done it.
Have
But the-
not done that.
For $150, isn't it cheaper to just buy the food that somebody else cooks?
That's what I say. But you can learn Indian food, as in India, not Native American, American, French, Italian, and Spanish. So I figure Len's mother can only charge so much to teach me how to cook. And I
My
can
grandmother,
watch
yeah,
it.
exactly. We'll get Doris to walk you through some stuff. That's interesting. $150. I mean, it's what 3.5 hours.
Yeah,
That's
9
not
to
terrible
12.
on an hourly. Maybe
It depends how. I mean, first of all, I think you'd have to be into cooking. I think that has to be
you
something.
have to really be into cooking. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you've got to have an affinity for it, and certainly if you want to learn how to cook some interesting dishes, I mean, this would be a great opportunity to. As I'm sure when it comes to Disney, this isn't like them just breezing through it. I'm sure it's a very
In-depth.
engaging, and in depth. Thank you. Event.
Well, that one you actually get to cook the food. There's a dessert thing, right? That's $60 per person, where you watch somebody cook it.
Right,
A
the
celebrity
Sweet
pastry
Sundays.
chef.
Leave
Yeah.
it to Len
What's
to
it
find
called,
the
Deb?
dessert.
It's called Sweet Sundays, and this will be the 3rd year it's offered. The first year I went, and have to say that it was a near disaster. I was not at all pleased with the one that I went to. The chef was very monotone, did not interact well, didn't have the audience in his hands at all, seemed very far removed, and just was horrible. Last year they changed it and moved it from Sunday evenings to Sunday more like brunch, and they serve a light lunch now. They do a sparkling wine. They have some light foods that you can taste, as well as 3 different desserts. So it'll be interesting to see how it works this year.
Yeah, I think the chefs that they have, at least some of them have experience with audiences. I see a couple of people from Food Network. Warren Brown from Sugar Rush on the Food Network.
Right.
Yeah, so at least those people would, at least a couple of them would have some experience in front of a crowd or anything.
Len, there's actually something free here.
That's right. Deb, have you done the Authentic Tastes seminars?
Are those the free ones you're talking about?
Saturday,
Over-
Sundays, and Mondays.
Oops. Say that again?
Saturday, Sunday, and Monday, Authentic Taste. It's according to Disney, it's a free 30-minute talk on a couple of different ingredients. One is chocolate, one's coffee, one's olive oil, and one's salts of the
Oh
world.
yes, they did that the last 2 years. So I think I went to the one on chocolate, which was pretty fascinating. Of course, you get to taste a little bit, and I went to one on olive oil, which was interesting because Spain was hosting it.
Right.
And Spanish olive oil is much different than Italian olive oil in terms of its taste. But
And
it
salt's
sounds
a big thing now. Like the different salts. It's starting to get,
hundreds of different kinds of salts.
oh yeah, it's catching on in terms of popularity. Not just kosher anymore.
Right.
And that's free. So free chocolate, free coffee, free olive oil, and free salt. Not
Yeah.
bad.
The one thing to keep in mind for the free events, though, is they get very crowded. Again, try and go during the week if you can. People will queue up a good 45 minutes to an hour before it begins.
So Monday might be the best day for that, because if it's Saturday, Sunday, Monday.
Right.
Cool.
It's a fun time if you like to eat or drink or both. It's a great time. And if you want to spend a little extra money, the one thing I would recommend, and we mentioned it briefly, was Party for the Senses. It really is a party for food and beverage and your eyes, the entertainment. They have very new age, unique entertainment. Cirque du Soleil, acrobats are there. The music is really interesting. The food is phenomenal. They have probably 15 different stations, and the chefs are almost in a competition with each other. They want to see who's going to have the longest line.
Awesome.
There's about a dozen wineries. They're each serving 2 or 3 different wines that you can taste, and everything is pretty much as you want from about 6:30 until 8:45. Or you can be like me and have them escort you out at 9:15.
When you say escort, you mean like by the elbow, right? Please, Miss Wills.
No, with those little orange flashy lights.
It's time to go, ma'am.
Well, it is time for us to go as well. And if you want more information on the Food and Wine Festival, we'll put a link in the show notes to Deb's site, which has a lot of information. And Deb, you'll be down there for the first weekend of Food and Wine, right?
I will. Myself and Deborah Martin Coma, who's our senior editor, will be down there. We'll be doing some of the paid events and also the free ones, and be reporting back on the website as we can during that weekend and then after we get home.
Great, so be sure to check All Ears Net the weekend of September 29th, and Deb will be having some live reports over there on her website. And we should also mention that this Sunday, August 27th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time, we'll be having live show numbers, what are we up to, 6 now?
6.
6, yep.
6.
6. Fun.
6.
And as a special treat,
Siete.
we're going to be having Deb Wills
Did you say
on.
7? What are you... Oh, my God.
What was that?
6. 6 is 6. 7 is 7. 7, 8, 9.
4, 5. Right, you're right.
Yeah. Anyway, Mike Newell will not be speaking Spanish.
I'm from the Bronx. What do I know?
Exactly. There are no Spanish people in the Bronx. Come on.
No, none at all.
None at all. Exactly.
Well, we'll be having on the live show Deb Wills on to talk in the first hour, so be sure to get all your Deb Wills questions. I don't know what they may be, but if you have them, prepare them, and you'll be able to talk and call in just as usual and talk to Deb as well as the rest of us if you have questions for us. So that's Sunday, August 27th at 8 o'clock p.m. Eastern Time. We look forward to talking to all of you. And you know what? That does it for today for us in Broken English. If you want to find older episodes, read our show notes, or send us your comments, visit the Walt Disney World Today website at wdwtoday.com. You can also email us at questions@wdwtoday.com. For Len Testa, Mike Smith, Mike Newell, and Deb Wills, I'm Matt Hochberg. We'll see you on the next show. StudioCentral.com.